Welcome into OutKick, the show, debate reaction number 2. Appreciate all of you hanging out with me. I have not read a single comment from anybody. I have not watched a single comment of anybody. These are my notes. You can see as I tilt it here, it shows up a little bit. The trusty yellow legal pad. I sat and watched all 2 hours. Here are my thoughts. First of all, I'll just start right off the top. My rankings of who performed the best in order, 1 to 7, I thought Ron DeSantis was the best on the stage tonight. In particular, I thought in the second half of the debate, because I don't think he got asked a question for like the first 30 minutes, second half of the debate, he completely took over. I thought his strongest moment was when he, at the end, and I like Dana Perino's question, who would you vote off the island? He refused to take part in it and looked like the biggest leader on the stage. I also thought his answer about being commander-in-chief was very good. So I thought he was the clear best victor, the winner, as it were, of the debate tonight. Second best, and I was surprised, and I think you could make an argument that he was the best, Doug Burgum, governor of North Dakota. A lot of really good answers. His best moments, I thought, and I jotted it down, on the fact that one of the major issues that we're dealing with the auto industry is the fact that the government is subsidizing electric vehicles, which is harming the ability of the non-electric vehicle companies, Ford and General Motors, to be able to compete on the same level because government subsidies are altering the market. Healthcare. Clearly, government subsidies are altering the market through Medicare, everything else. And his answers on the federal government often being in the way of market-based solutions, I thought were very good. His endorsements of federalism, his energy policy answers, I thought Doug Burgum had a home run night for him. I think a lot of people are going to be impressed. Vivek, I think Vivek is going to be controversial again. He was the most attacked candidate on the stage, but he actually gave the best answer, I thought, to any question all night, which was end birthright citizenship. If you read this book, and I hope some of you did, go buy it if you didn't already, I had a big section arguing that it's time to end birthright citizenship because you have to attack the incentive structure that underlies why illegal immigration is happening. One is jobs. The other one is birthright citizenship. And almost no other country has birthright citizenship. This is a legacy of colonialism, actually, which you wonder, like, why are you a citizen? And for people out there who don't understand what birthright citizenship it is, I'm not talking about if you're the son or daughter of a citizen, you should be a citizen, right? So that's not what I'm talking about, no matter where you're born anywhere in the world. If you are born, however, on U.S. soil, you shouldn't automatically become a United States citizen. I don't think that should be the law of the land, especially not when you illegally enter the country. We shouldn't be allowing people to come from China, stay in our hospitals, have a baby, and then travel back to China and have a Chinese citizen that is also an American citizen. I'm just using that as an example. If you have a child in China, if I were in China right now and my wife was pregnant and we had a baby there, our child wouldn't be a Chinese citizen. The reason why this exists is because back in the days of colonialism, if you wanted somebody to leave England or you wanted somebody to leave France and go to one of your colonies, they were concerned, those colonists were, that their kids would not be considered citizens of the country that they left behind. So in North America and South America, those countries that were colonizing said, you will also still be a citizen. So if you were born in 1680 in Jamestown, Virginia, your kid was still a citizen of Great Britain because we were a Great Britain's colony. You were still considered a subject. And so this doesn't exist in most of the rest of the country. In fact, the only other, I believe I'm correct in this, group of 7 nation that does it is Canada. Doesn't happen in Japan, doesn't happen in England, doesn't happen in France, doesn't happen in Germany, doesn't happen in China, doesn't happen hardly anywhere else in the world. I thought that was the best answer all night that was given by anybody. So I've got Vivek third overall. Nikki Haley, I think it's going to be polarizing. Nikki Haley was the most aggressive in attacking people all night long. And in particular, the most aggressive comment I saw all night was, every time I hear you, I feel a little bit dumber for what you say. That was Nikki Haley to Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, Vivek tried to play like he was the victim, even though he said last debate that everybody else on the stage was bought and paid for. So it doesn't really, once you've made that accusation, it's hard to say like, oh, we shouldn't be saying anything mean about each other. But that was aggressive. Nikki Haley also went after Senator Tim Scott. She went after Ron DeSantis. She went after a lot of people on the stage tonight. She seems to clearly not like Vivek Ramaswamy. So I've got Nikki Haley at 4. Some people will have her higher. Some people will have her lower. I put her squarely right smack dab in the middle. Tim Scott, I got at 5. Good answers at times. I thought when he attacked, I was very surprised that Tim Scott attacked Vivek. I did not see that coming. But then he talked a lot while Vivek was trying to answer. In particular, I said that Vivek was challenged on his China connections by Tim Scott. I didn't see that happening. I got Tim Scott at 5, Chris Christie at 6. Chris Christie was on the stage going after Donald Trump. We'll get to that in a moment. And then Mike Pence at 7. I did not think that Mike Pence in any way distinguished himself. Now let's talk about the larger debate structure. I didn't think it was good. So here's my criticisms. The Univision questioner was basically asking questions, for instance, of DeSantis about the Black history dispute based in unfounded fact, and she sounded like a deranged MSNBC commentator. And so it was very left-wing in the questions. It was awkward. Her questions were not designed to actually, it didn't seem to me, get answers so much as they were to propagate left-wing attack arguments. So I thought that made it tougher. I don't know why you opened with the auto strike. And I'm going in order now with my notes. Opening with a question about the auto strike, I don't think many people care about that. I don't think there was that much of a focus in that because, again, we got strikes going on all over the country. The writer's strike, in Hollywood, the actor's strike. Now we've got the auto strike. On the things that people care about in America right now, the auto strike, I would say, I'm not sure if it's in the top 20 issues. So I thought opening with that and then spending like 15 minutes on it really didn't provide a great deal of energy. I didn't like the spark out of the jump with the questions. The government shutdown question, second question, I don't think that many people care about the government shutdown. We don't even talk about the government shutdown on Clay and Buck. It's very much of a Washington, D.C. story. What do I mean by that? Eventually, the government's not going to be shut down, right? They're going to end up with an agreement. And so it's really just kind of a parlor game. The government's not staying shut down. Maybe it's going to stay shut down for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it is. Then everybody's going to get back pay. It's a made-up story in many ways to me. I thought starting with both of those didn't make sense. But the first fireworks I would say we got was Chris Christie and Ron DeSantis going after Donald Trump. Christie for not being there. DeSantis actually went after Trump for adding, I think it's $7 trillion to the national debt and said that he should have to be there and answer for it because that's one of the potential causes of the government shutdown. Again, I said I liked Vivek's answer the best all night on ending birthright citizenship. I thought that was the single best answer that anybody gave. Mike Pence, then we got Tim Scott going after Vivek. The one thing I would say is, and I don't know if I'll ever moderate any kind of debate. I think it would be fun to do at some point. I don't know if I'll ever in my career get an opportunity to do it. But I think when there are legitimate disagreements, you should actually allow the legitimate disagreements to play out. There was so much crosstalk, it was hard to hear. That's where the moderator needs to step in. When there is conflict, allow the conflict to be resolved in some way. It seemed to me very often when we had a point of contention or disagreement, a point of conflict, that they then pivoted and went in a totally different direction instead of allowing that conflict to organically play out and allow voters to assess that dispute. That's where we saw Tim Scott. I was surprised he went after Vivek, challenged him on his China connections, and then Mike Pence probably had his best line of the night, certainly much better than I've been sleeping with a teacher for 38 years, which is awkward. That when he ripped Vivek for not actually voting, that was a pretty good line. But again, lots of crosstalk. The audio was not great. The Univision commentator often just going in totally different directions. It wasn't a particularly, I didn't think, well-organized debate in terms of all of the crosstalk. And like I said, I didn't like the opening of the questions. Chris Christie tried to deliver a planned attack against Donald Trump, said he's going to stop calling him Donald Trump and start calling him Donald Duck. Get it? Because he's ducking the debates. It's a dad joke. There are probably a lot of dads watching. I'm a dad. I was watching. You know, it's right on that level of it's so planned that it's a little bit cringe. I think it'll get some attention. But you can make the argument that Trump should be there, but I don't know that the Donald Duck line, because of how scripted it seemed and how planned it seemed, it did not feel organic. Tim Scott, attacking Great Society, I thought was Tim Scott's best moment. Saying straightforwardly, America is not a racist country. This is a big topic that deserves to be talked about more. I saw this stat, and I may not get it 100% right. I was reading the Wall Street Journal this morning. In 1960, 5% of black kids lived in single-parent homes. By current days, it is now, I think, over 70% of black kids live in single-parent homes. Think about that. 1960, only 5% of black kids lived in single-parent homes. Present day, it's over 70%. And again, I wish I had the exact number in front of me. I'm pretty sure that that's right. It's an incredible increase. Why is that? If the argument is that the legacy of racism caused that, which is what many on the left would say, why was it only 5% 100 years after slavery ended, and it skyrocketed in the last 60 years in terms of single-parent households? I think it's a fabulous question. And it deserves serious analysis. You know, the United States has more single-parent households than any of the other 130 biggest countries in the world. Why is that? Really, really important conversation. Every time you talk about it, people say, well, I'm not saying all single parents are bad. Being a single parent is hard. I couldn't have raised 3 boys by myself and done a good job of it. I couldn't. I couldn't raise 1 kid by myself and do a good job, not while working. So I'm not demeaning single parents. It is a hard job. But the data reflects that everybody, by and large, does better in 2-parent households, boys in particular. Again, doesn't mean that you as a single parent can't raise children and they can't be successful in life. Doesn't mean that at all. In fact, that is, I think, commendable. Bill Clinton, single-parent home. Barack Obama, single-parent home. There are lots of examples of successful single-parent children. But as a group, the data doesn't lie. It actually is harmful to children. Tim Scott started to talk about that. I thought that was his good answer. The Nikki Haley attack, again, some people are going to like it. She went after DeSantis. She went after Vivek. She went after a lot of people on the stage, Tim Scott, in ways that I did not anticipate. She said directly, Nikki Haley did, of Vivek Ramaswamy, "We can't trust you." Again, I would just reiterate, when fights start, let them play out and let the attacker and the attacked both have the opportunity to defend themselves and let that play out to a logical conclusion to the point where the viewer feels like that dispute has been thoroughly vetted. I didn't think we got that. I thought that DeSantis gave a great answer on abortion. I disagree, personally, with a 6-week abortion ban. That is what he signed in Florida. But I thought DeSantis pivoted very aggressively and actually turned the conversation, which is what every Republican should do, to wherever you believe abortion, the line should be. And I'm a first trimester guy, right? Like I'm of the opinion that somewhere that line should be drawn, right around the first trimester. I'm a safe, legal, and rare guy. 10% of people believe in no exceptions. 10% of people believe that 9-month abortion should be legal. I'm in where the 80% is, right? I'm somewhere in the middle. And I wrote about that a lot in my book. But the real aggressive position is that abortion should be legal all the way up to the 9th month of pregnancy, which is Democrat orthodoxy now. That's the pivot. I thought DeSantis did a really good job on that. And then the conclusion, I thought Dana Perino was outstanding. Dana's really good. And I thought of the moderators, she was able to control things better than anyone. And I thought at the final question where she said, vote somebody off the island, it's spicy. It is a good question. It's a provocative question. But I thought DeSantis handled it really well and refused to be a part of it. And then I thought Chris Christie did a good job because he eventually said, I would vote Donald Trump off. Because he said he hasn't respected the Republican primary debate audience because he hasn't shown up for the debates yet. Big picture, at the conclusion of all this, I wrote down, feels like there's lots of parity here. By which I mean, I ranked DeSantis and Burgum and Vivek as the 3 best, and then Nikki Haley as the 4th best. That was my take on who I thought were the 4 best performers on the stage tonight. Of those 4 best performers, did anybody so excel that they were head and shoulders above everybody else? I wrote down, it feels like there's a lot of parity. And I think the big question as we get ready for the 3rd debate has to be, if you are of the opinion that Donald Trump is not the right answer. About 50% of people are in favor of Trump. Right now, 50% of people, give or take, in favor of one of the other candidates. The only way Trump gets beaten is if we get it down to kind of a 1v1. And that has to happen sooner rather than later. So when are people going to start dropping out of the race? What I see is everybody up on that stage tonight feels like they still have a chance. They're going to leave this debate feeling like the pathway to them contending in Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina and Nevada is still open. At some point, people have to stop dropping out, have to start dropping out. The mayor of Miami has already done it. Maybe it's going to happen after the next debate. But my thought is a lot of these people aren't running to win. They're running for attention. And if your goal isn't to win, if your goal is to get as much attention as you can, why would you ever drop out? That's a challenge. And I don't know the answer to that question. And as long as people aren't dropping out, the status quo remains in effect, and Donald Trump remains a substantial favorite to end up the next president nominee for the Republican Party going forward. All right. Love all of you. We'll be live talking about this for 3 hours tomorrow on Clay and Buck. I'll also talk more about this tomorrow on OutKick the Show. Hope you enjoy it. Appreciate all of you. Spicy night. Could have been better organized. But again, my 7 in order as I saw it. I've got DeSantis 1, Burgum 2, Vivek 3, Nikki 4, Scott 5, Christie 6, and Pence 7. That is the way that I would break all of this down. All right. Well, you guys, DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. This has been OutKick the Show, Republican Debate Reaction Edition.